Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about my miscarriage story and what I went through during that time. I just wanted to make a disclaimer real quick. This is just my story. I'm not giving any medical advice. If you are experiencing anything that I have experienced or talk about, that doesn't mean that you're miscarrying as well. So if you're watching this video to get some information, I would just honestly contact your doctor. This happened to me over Christmas time, and so I couldn't really contact my doctor. That's kind of why I did the things that I did, but yeah, I'm not saying that any of this will happen to you. This is just my story and how unfortunately it ended up. Got my messy bun. I am a stay-at-home mom. I've just been at home all day, just threw on some makeup, and here we are. If you can relate to this, please let me know. I would love to have a conversation in the comments. Here is my story. For the couple days before Christmas Eve, I was cramping, but with my first pregnancy with my son, I felt like I was cramping as well, and so I really didn't think anything of the cramping, and it was more so like I thought my cervix was expanding or something like that. I just thought it was normal. So Christmas Eve comes along, we come home from my mother-in-law's house. I go to the restroom and there's a little bit of brown. And of course I was freaking out, but with my son again, I gushed blood with him, but it was one time, one night, and that was it. And nothing really came of that. I went to the hospital. They put me on bed rest for a day. So when I saw the brown, I was freaking out a little bit, not trying to, whatever. So I Googled it and everything said that it's normal, especially around the 7-8 week mark. And I was pretty much exactly 7 weeks. Everything just pretty much said that was normal. So next day is obviously Christmas, and I got a stomach bug that my son had a couple days before. So we go to my mother-in-law's house again, and I'm running to the toilet. And the brown is just continuing, but at this point I have a really bad stomach bug. So I'm okay, well, Google said it was normal. I can't go to the doctor right now, so I'm just gonna work out the stomach bug situation and not really worry too much about brown blood because it's old blood. Okay, so then the next day, the day after Christmas, the 26th, I was still really sick, and I had seen some red blood, which was fresh blood. And at this point, I'm okay, let's go to the ER real quick. I found this little clinic, an ER clinic, I guess, but that was a really big mistake because they ended up they just did not seem like they knew what they were doing. They weren't OBs, they didn't have a lot of experience with this, and they really didn't know what to tell me, and it kind of freaked me out even more. I just should have gone to the actual hospital. So the next day comes, and I, at this point, am gushing blood. The day before, they did do a sonogram or ultrasound, they went inside, and that was pretty painful. So by the next day, I was cramping and gushing blood, but I wasn't just cramping, I was contracting. So I was having contractions and absolutely gushing blood, and it was clotty. So on my, I want to say it was my whatever pregnancy app I was using, they have a community tab, and so I was asking don't scare me, but I'm seeing some brown. Has anyone else experienced this? Some people said it's normal, and some people said they experienced that and it didn't end well. by the 27th. So 3 days after I had seen the first like brown stuff, it was clotty and I was in pretty bad pain, but it was like, ooh, like pain, but then it would like go away for a second. So it was off and on. So that's why I say it was like contractions. So then I'm at the actual hospital. They get me in right away. It was amazing. Should have gone there, but whatever. And again, they really couldn't tell me much. They did do another ultrasound because I was like, I don't trust the other hospital. Let's just redo it. They did take my blood. So they got my HCG, which was at 4,000. And at this point, I was like 7.5 weeks pregnant. So they took my blood. It was like pretty high, but I don't know if that was high enough for like how far along I was. Get home from the hospital, still bleeding really bad, still having those cramps. And at this point, I am just really, really sad. And by 10 o'clock that night, at the time I didn't know what it was, just something came out, something passed through me. Now I know what it was. Yeah, it was about 10 o'clock. After that happened, my cramping subsided. The clotting went away. I was still bleeding for a couple weeks after that. That's when I knew what had happened. And this was on a Sunday. So Monday comes and I was supposed to have my 8-week appointment on that Wednesday, but I called them on Monday and just basically explained what had happened. I could barely get out any words. I was just not wanting to call my doctor for that reason. I was really excited for my 8-week appointment. I am really young, I'm 22, so I was like, oh, there's no way I'll miscarry. Like, I just like really wasn't aware of how normal and common this is. And the statistics, I think, on this are really off, and having to do with age or anything like that, it's just not a good word to spread, because me being 22, thinking I'm invincible and nothing bad can happen is not reality. I went to my doctor, and the day before was at the ER, and they said they saw something. They just couldn't get a clear picture of the baby because they said it was like too early. But at this point, I just don't think the baby developed that far along to see anything. So the next day, my doctor comes in. He was amazing, very compassionate. It was so great to experience that, because I have seen some of these videos where doctors and people aren't that compassionate. Basically, he performed the ultrasound. That spoke volumes that he did that for me, and very comforting, and like he didn't see anything. So there was nothing in there left. He said there was some of like my uterine lining or whatever. It looked like I was just gonna start my period. He said I have every reason to be hopeful, because I have had a baby before, but I know like things happen. He said that I did nothing wrong. I do get cysts on my ovaries, and at that point I did have cysts on my ovaries, but I've always had cysts on my ovaries. I've not been diagnosed with PCOS. I think PCOS there's like one more thing to it that I don't experience. So even though I do have multiple cysts on my ovaries, there's something with it that like, I don't know, I just haven't been diagnosed with it. But since I was 15 years old, I've had like at least 3 or 4 cysts on each side. All my doctors that I've ever seen said I would have no issue with fertility or anything getting pregnant. I'm really looking forward to going back there with a good story and a happy experience. So he told me to come once a week to get my blood test. So I was at 4,000 that Sunday. So I came back on Monday. I should have written this down, but I want to say I went from 4,000 to like 130 something, 120 something. Well, if I went from 4,000 to 1 something, like, don't you think by next week it would be 0? And she was like, not necessarily. So went back the next week and I was at like 25, and I was like, okay. I put in my period tracker app when I started bleeding on Christmas Eve and when I stopped bleeding, and then it from there on said I would get my period on whatever day it told me. And as I was getting closer to that day and I still had HCG left in me, I was really confused. Basically, everyone was saying that you will get your period in like 2 to 4 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. I didn't know if that meant once your HCG hit 0, or if that was, and once your HCG hit 0, then you'll get a period. Like, I didn't know. So the answer for me was once my HCG hit 0, I'm pretty sure is the day I got my period. Yeah, that was pretty much it. That was my story. Now, emotionally, I don't think I'll ever be over what happened. I don't think I can. I don't care how far along you are, any circumstance, if you have gone through a loss, a miscarriage of any sort, your feelings are valid. This is why I want to share this, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I have learned everything from YouTube, and I watch YouTube. I've learned how to be a mom basically from YouTube because I was 18 years old and pregnant, watching every mom that I could. With every single day, it gets easier. And even just thinking back about like how I felt 2 weeks ago, I have healed so much since then. But I do have a fear of leaving that baby behind. I just don't want to forget. So I think for me, it's more of a fear of letting go. I definitely feel a lot better, but my love for our lost baby still continues to grow every day. So I still really want that baby. But as far as how everything happened, I'm able to sit here now a couple months later and talk about it. It's really important that you find something, like whether it's writing a letter to your baby or however you feel best to have some closure. There's no time limit. I called my dad and was just like so sad when I got my period, when my HCG was 0, and I was really sad that day. And I told him, I'll feel better tomorrow. It's just the first day of my period, so I'm just gonna be sad today, but I'll feel better tomorrow. And he was like, that's BS. Like, if somebody has a broken leg and they have a cast on, people can obviously see they have a broken leg and they're gonna help them and they're gonna help carry their stuff or whatever. They can obviously see they have a broken leg and it doesn't just heal the next day. But when you have a broken heart, people can't see that. And I think I felt like I need to be better tomorrow, but just give me today. And he was just reminding me, like, that's BS. Like, you don't need to be better tomorrow. Find something that you can do to pay tribute, to have some closure. What I did was, like, every time I would get in the car by myself, like driving to work, driving wherever, if I were just by myself, like, it was really hard for me, but I think I needed those moments to be able to just like cry out and pray, really process my feelings. There was one time in the car that I, like every other time, just praying out loud. And all of a sudden, I just started talking to my baby. I know it sounds crazy maybe, but I really recommend it. Either write a letter or talk to your baby. And say what you need to say. It really helped me get some closure. And another thing that I did, but I definitely am not recommending anyone to do this, I needed some sense of permanency, if you will. My biggest fear in this is leaving that baby behind. I ended up getting a tattoo. It might be kind of covered, but I got a poppy flower. I do want to do like a whole tattoo video at some point, but this represents my baby for me. And once I got that, I was like, okay, I can kind of start to move on because I will always have a reminder. That way I don't have to keep it in my head 24/7. I'll have this so I can think about something else for a second, if that makes sense. So that is my little story. I'm not the best storyteller, so it was probably all over the place, but my main goal is just to help. I'm doing this because these videos helped me so much. If you are watching this, thank you. And if you're going through something similar, I would love to have a conversation in the comments. I feel like if I am going to be doing my TTC journey, my trying to conceive journey, I should start with the beginning. It's my second cycle now after the miscarriage. And yeah, we're just going to continue trying and to be hopeful. I hope everyone stays hopeful and cope how you need to. Get help if you need to. There's no shame in anything, so